Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the Minnesota Goes to College webinar, and the title of it is How to Visit Minnesota Colleges When You Can't Visit Colleges. And so we're really happy to have you all here. We have an amazing group of panelists. And just to get us warmed up and started and ready to go, if you could please put in the chat box what you hope to learn today. Why are you here? What do you hope to take away from this conversation, this dialogue? So you can see this, but some of the questions that were asked is how to make virtual visits with colleges seem more worthwhile for students and how to get more students to attend them in the first place. How to find out more about virtual tours, options for students and maybe parent info as well. Some advice that a counselor or college access person could give students and parents about getting a feel for what college is actually like without actually being able to visit them. And any other colleges that are still offering on-campus visits and the best way to host virtual visits and get students to commit to show up. So it sounds like a lot of how do you get people to show up, which is the age-old question in this world of virtual presentation. So thank you, everybody, for participating in the chat. We appreciate that. It's a great way to warm up and set the stage for our presentation.
Thank you, Kat. You're always great at setting the stage. I'm always ready to be like, let's start. Okay, so thank you for joining us again. Kat and I are the co-chairs of Minnesota Goes to College, and we are hosting a so far weekly webinar series. This is our third. And I just want to remind folks that we will record this session and we post all the recordings basically the next day on our website, and I'll show you where that is in a little bit. But I'd love to get started and have our presenters talk and put my camera off. But we have three great panelists, presenters here today. Really appreciate your time and offering to do this session. This was really something that was requested. And I will let you all introduce yourselves when you turn on your camera. But basically, each presenter is going to kind of give you a whirlwind tour of their website and where to find some of their events and resources and how to arrange or organize a virtual event for your students or your school. So they're going to show you that. Kat and I will try to follow along and help you out with, we'll send you some links as they're talking so that if you have two screens and you want to go ahead and look on their websites, you can do that while they're talking. And I will, again, send a list. They did compile a list. I will just preview it here. Of kind of the basics of what they'll be covering today. And we do have this available, and I'll put that link again in the chat. And this is also on our website, so I'll show you that later. All right, so with that, I am going, if I'm not forgetting anything, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass the baton over to John.
That was pretty, sorry everyone. So I'm John Manning with the Minnesota Private College Council. The Private College Council represents 17 nonprofit institutions in our state, and to help you kind of, if you can see this on my screen, there's a map with 17 colleges listed. So these are nonprofits like St. Thomas in the Twin Cities, out to St. Scholastica in Duluth, or Concordia College in Moorhead, and St. Mary's down in Winona. So we cover a large chunk of the state. So we had worked on, and I think I had an earlier version, but you're going to see an update. You have an updated version that has links for Minnesota State too, which is what Beth's sharing, and that's fantastic. So there's an updated version of this, but for the links for us, they're the same. So I was just going to click on a couple of these to show you what resources are here to help you have some of what you need to help students. So one thing we're pretty glad we got pulled together this summer, and we've been maintaining it through the fall, and yep, it says fall exploration, so yep, it's fall, is we've done a pretty good job for us for pulling together a calendar of virtual events, and you can use this to pull up a different month, a different day. if you wanted to make an assignment and wanted to know if there are virtual events happening that day at any of our colleges, or if there were a family that was looking for something to do over a weekend, they could use this tool really easily to say, you know, on October 15th, what kind of virtual tour options are there? And there are a lot popping in here, and these are all links, so you could then go to that college's website to learn more and register if required for their event. So I think this creates a hub for anyone who wants to look for a bunch of options at our private nonprofit colleges to get started. And I think it's one of the tools that can really help a family or a student take a step towards learning more about colleges, is actually registering for an event. I have a high school junior at home, and we haven't even taken that step yet. We're probably behind, I don't know. But one thing that we were doing was just going to college websites and looking at the virtual tours on the sites, and that came up in a pretty good way, just hanging out on the couch one night. And this kind of link for virtual tours can be helpful if you're trying to share a link with parents or with students to see, how do I start a virtual tour at different kinds of institutions? So different colleges, and the U and Min-State will tell us more about this, have different ways of supporting this. And I need to turn that off. I don't know. We don't need to hear you. Wait, where are you? So clicking into different options, they're all going to work differently. Some are really photo-based. Some have a narrator, like that one that was just starting for Gustavus. And so we have kind of a good landing spot for that. I'm going to jump back to that resource list. Something that we created this summer, because we were just trying to think of more support we could offer to better help you all helping students, was what kind of toolkit could we provide to help someone who's just beginning a search. So trying to start really foundationally with goals, thinking about some self-reflection. This is prepared as a tool that does mention private colleges a couple times in here, but it's really more general and says, you know, make a list to explore. Maybe you want to consider some of our colleges, but, you know, people could use this and put down colleges that sure aren't ours. So it was just trying to provide a tool to help a family, maybe a family who doesn't have as much counseling help as your students do. We also have website content for that kind of earlier search family, right? Like if you're a sophomore or junior, just some web content that's really focused on, what about a timeline? How do I think about what matters to me? Just starting with some of those basics. A key question that you folks often bring up, folks at high schools, is what are deadlines and what are fees? And so we have that pulled together in a pretty clear spot for everyone. We also are dealing with requirements for, you know, what do you need? Do you need an essay or not? That's all listed out here too. A really important one, given all the changes that have been going on, is who's test optional and what are current policies. We really do say that you are more than your test score at private colleges, and all but one of our colleges have, all 16 of 17 have gone test optional, at least for next year. So, and 15 of the 17 are test optional, period. So that information is really important to folks, given all the changes and what students are having to navigate. So we got that for you there too. One thing that we've been talking about is when it comes to arranging virtual tour opportunities, there's that calendar of ones that are pre-existing that I shared with you. But you may have a group of students that you're convening in some way, and you would have normally tried to connect them with a council, an admission rep who is visiting your high school, and that's not possible. Or there might be, or it might be a new idea. But you, if you have interest in creating a virtual group event as someone who works with students, colleges are really receptive to that idea. This is a link that, we have a link on that resource list that takes you to this page, which repeats the list for links to pre-existing virtual group events at each institution. But then it also asks, would admissions staff from the institution be available to speak to groups of high school students by video conference call? Everyone said yes. This was a result of a recent survey. How about admission staff arranging for current college students to speak with groups of high school students? Could that be possible if schedules permit? Yes. Everyone said yes. And then we have contact information for you to, for what door do you knock on to try to arrange something like that. So the colleges are doing these kinds of sessions. I've heard about them, and they're really receptive if that's an interest of yours. I'm going to stop. I think those were the key things I wanted to highlight. And if there's any questions now, great. Or if they come up later, that's great too. And now I have to figure out how to get out of stopping my screen.
Isn't WebEx fun? Okay, so at the very top, there's that drop-down menu. There you go.
Yeah, okay.
All right, thanks for sharing, John. Does anyone have questions for the private colleges in the chat? And if not, that's okay. You might come up with questions a little bit later too.
And Beth, can you take back control, or do I need to hand control off?
I can.
Okay, great.
So thank you for presenting. We will head on over. I can't remember who the second person was on my little sheet. Oh yeah, Michelle. Michelle is from the Minnesota State Colleges and University System. So Michelle, I'm going to pass it to you. You'll get a little dialog box, and then you can also turn on your video. And John, you can turn yours off if you'd like.
All right, thank you.
Okay, can everyone hear me okay? Let's see.
Yes.
Cool.
And we saw you for a second, but you turned it off.
I turned it off. Okay.
That's okay.
Is it back on?
Yeah.
Okay. I should have left it alone. Okay, there we go. And then share my desktop. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Goode, and I am the Digital and Social Media Director for Minnesota State Colleges and Universities. I work at the System Office and the Marketing Department. So I guess what I would like to start with, too, is maybe just start with that cheat sheet. I'll kind of follow John's lead here. The added column. John's was the same, except I added a column for us. Maybe I'll just kick it off with just starting from the top. So I wanted to mention just a promotion that we have going on right now, which is for Minnesota State Week / College Knowledge Month. We have a landing page from our System Office website, so I'll just click on that. And basically, the Minnesota State Week coincides with the MEA Week. And really what this page is a landing page of all 37 of our colleges and universities. So if you want to, visit each one, you can come here first, any of the counselors, and they can find links to each of their landing pages and find out what they're doing at their specific college or university. So from the system office level, what we have going on our website is we tend to create landing pages just because we have so many colleges and universities. Again, it's 37. We have 54 campuses. So each is unique, and they do things, they may do things a little bit differently at each college and university. So we thought to simplify things, we have kind of like a landing page as you see, and then when you click on a link, it will take you to a college or university, and where you will find what they have going on for how to visit colleges. And during MEA week, there might be something that they have going on virtually too. So we have virtual visits that are going on during MEA week. But then at the end of the month, through October 25th through the 31st, each of our colleges and universities is waiving its application fee. Some of the many of the colleges are doing it all month, and some even do it all the time. And of course, if you're low income or if you're military, those fees are waived. So just wanted to put that out there to show you. While I'm clicking around too, it's kind of hard to navigate chat as I'm clicking around. So Beth, could you help me with that if there are questions that are coming in the meantime?
Yes, definitely. I do have a comment about the application.
Okay.
Fees. Somebody asked in the chat anyway. So there is a list that we compile for College Knowledge Month that exists on our website, and I sent the link in there. But yes, most colleges in Minnesota don't charge a fee like throughout the year, or there's many that don't charge a fee at all during the year. Many of the Minnesota State colleges and universities don't charge for the whole month. I think there's only 3 that are sticking to just that last week. But it does have all systems on there, and every institution in the Minnesota private colleges, U of M and the Minnesota State system, are accepting the NACAC fee waiver too for those students who qualify outside of those free times. So that's a little commercial. I put it in the chat, so but somebody had asked about that too.
Awesome, awesome. And typically outside of College Knowledge Month, most colleges that do charge a fee, it's typically around $20, $25 for the application fee. And it might vary a little bit differently with the universities. So, but again, we have links to each of those colleges and universities, so you can check that out with them. Similarly, let's see, I think what I'll do next is I'll jump to this toolkit. For us, what I link to for a toolkit is our landing page for our guidebook. So we have a publication that we put out every year, and some counselors may or may not be familiar with our guidebook, but it's a publication that we put out every year, but it's also on our website. And you can find it here, and anyone, so students, parents, and counselors can go here and they can order the guidebook for free, as well as our poster that kind of shows how we're spread across the whole state. But let me just click on the publication so you could check it out. This is really handy, a really handy tool. If we had State Fair, we normally pass this out at the State Fair every year. But this publication has a whole lot of good information. Pretty much everything that you'll find on our website is in this guidebook as well. But we also have a sheet, a one sheet for each college and each university. And on it, you will find statistics as well as program highlights and activities. So it's kind of nice to see and get a feel of how the demographics are, what they specialize in. So just wanted to show that. If you wanted to, let's see, got too many tabs open now. If you wanted to order a guidebook, you could just do it from here. Click on here. It's just a shopping cart, so you can say what quantity you want, and it gets shipped to you for free. There's also other things besides just ordering a guidebook here. It kind of tells you the steps, the admission steps. So visiting campuses, you can explore careers. So here's an interactive map, for example, on our website too. This is a handy tool if you want to research or if your students want to research what campuses we have. Here's our map, our poster. So this is kind of interactive. You can click on any of these and you can get program highlights, student statistics. Again, it matches with our guidebook. That's intentional. So that's like if you want to search for campuses, you can either click on the map or you can select from our drop-down, and it'll bring you, give you a different kind of view about our campuses and program highlights, student statistics. There's also links down here to their social media sites. Call to action, you can apply from here. You can set up a visit. You can get more info, directions to get there. So that's kind of a nice tool for campuses. And if I go back, I want to be able to, oh, I'm sorry, let me get back to this map. You can also search programs here too. So you can enter a keyword, or there's a drop down. You can pick one or many. And it'll bring search results back on which colleges or universities offer the things that you checked. So that's useful. Let's get back to the cheat sheet. So that's kind of our toolkit that's really handy. The guidebook is a good tool to start from, as well as the searching for campuses and programs, our search tool with that. We also have a general landing page for admissions information, what the process is. Here's next steps. Again, these kind of talk to each other, so now we're back to ordering a free guidebook, campuses, that goes back to the interactive maps. If you're ready to apply, we have a universal application. Here's what it looks like. And what this does, this is the start of one, but you just kind of answer these questions and it brings you through the process. But that allows students to be able to, if they apply from the System Office website, it allows them to choose more. They can apply to more than one college or university, or they can just choose one, or they can choose many. The other option, of course, is just to reach out to the individual college or university and just apply directly with them. And then the other thing on here too that I wanted to mention too is just our Ask Us support. Let me move this, I gotta move some things. So that's, again, here's our main navigation. So you can, here's our admissions process page that I showed you, our campuses and maps. This Ask Us section right here is our information hub where people can go to ask questions. So basically it's support that's available 7 days a week with extended hours. It includes request information about campuses and programs. So you just fill out this form and you submit it and they'll send whatever it is that you're requesting. There's a live chat. So when you fill out these fields and submit it, a live person will come online and can help you, as well as you can call them or send them an email. So those are other tools that are always available. Then the other thing on our website too is career exploration. So this is on some of the other landing pages, admissions, as well as on the guidebook page. It just, you know, during a search, oftentimes people will start with the end in mind, right? So they're thinking about where do I want to be after I graduate? What kind of career do I want to have? So this would be a good landing page just to explore career options, what jobs are out there and things like that. So this is our landing page for that. So mostly everything that you need is kind of like right up there at the top. One thing that is important too, and one thing, you know, of course, is tuition and fees. Again, I just put that link is on the cheat sheet too, but this will show you what we charge at each college and university, the average tuition and fees rate. We have a tuition freeze going on right now, but we like to tout that we offer the lowest tuition in the state. So that's our pricing right there for our colleges, and this is what it is at our universities. And in our guidebook, there is actually a page where we have a chart that's more appealing than what you see on the website. So lowest tuition in Minnesota. So this will kind of give you some average costs, and this is our grid that kind of shows the costs and at our state colleges and university system. So let me just go back to this cheat sheet to see if I forgot anything. Those would be our main tools that you can find from the System Office website. And most of our landing pages to have links to get you to an individual college or university where you can find more detailed information by contacting them directly. And that's all I have. So everything that I mentioned or went over should be referenced on this sheet. I hope that was helpful. Thanks for...
Yeah, all right. Thank you. I did have a question come in about, let's see, I have to scroll back. It may have been when we talked about when John was referring to test optional, and I don't know if you would know the answers to these, but what guidelines are your institutions using for admissions regarding AccuPlacer scores? Will that be optional like the ACT?
Okay, so I have a little bit of information on there, I think. Let me see. So let's see, application requirements. So for our institutions, our colleges have an open admissions policy, meaning you need only have a high school diploma or a GED to enroll. The 7 universities will generally accept you as a first-year student if you graduate in the top half of your high school class, received a combined score of 1,000 or higher on SAT. So I try to include that on here. But as far as, let's see, Tier 2, contact individual colleges and universities for their specific ACT or SAT test optional policies, placement testing, and proctoring and admissions and transfer information. So we do have a little bit on transfer information on our page. Bless you. But I'm not sure if that answers the question about policy on testing. But I do know that each college and university, they have testing centers where you would test for reading and math, but we do have it is open for the colleges.
Thank you. And if that doesn't answer the question, you can always email me and I can, ask Jessica Espinosa at the system office too about course placement, right, and testing. She might.
And is the question too, like, are they able to test remotely, or is that also part of the question?
I'm not sure. So
okay.
So, but it wasn't in there. All right. Well, we can move on.
Sorry, there is another question that was in the chat, and this is to everyone. All of the panelists. The question was, in the past, scholarships were awarded by ACT or GPA, and so how are they going to be awarded now if so many of the colleges that these students are applying to are test optional or don't require tests at all?
Thanks, Kat.
What was can you repeat that?
Yep, so the question is, in the past, scholarships were awarded by ACT or GPA. How are they going to be awarded now?
I think I don't know the exact answer, but I feel like for scholarships, they are still taking applications the same way. So I feel like the award would be done the same way, but I haven't heard anything different. Maybe that's something that we can look into. Oh, that was for private colleges. I just saw a chat.
John can chime in if he is able on that one.
Is his mic on mute?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Miguel is the best person to answer this question because he's actually works in admission, whereas Michelle and I are both trying to be helpful communicators. But Miguel, you have the boots on the ground response on this. I've heard some mixed things on this, so I'd love to hear the answer from you.
Absolutely, yes. I was trying to find the unmute button and I hit the other audio button, so I apologize for that. Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a question that we're going to be fielding here for, I guess, for the foreseeable future. You know, to answer your question, at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, when you apply, you're also applying for scholarships. So the application itself for admissions also entails the application for scholarships. So the route we're going to pursue when it comes to awarding scholarships is going to be very similar to our admissions application. So we're going to take the academic factors and also contextual factors as well. So we're never going to base off our decision off of one factor. So for example, the test scores, ACT or SAT, that's not going to be the only reason or the reason that we award you a scholarship or admissions. It's going to take a collective and holistic approach. What high school you came from, academic rigor, amount of courses, and just to name a few, right? But also leadership skills, extracurricular activities, conferences, internships, service hours, everything gets taken into account.
Thanks for commenting on that, Miguel. And thank you, Michelle, as well. I believe she was done. I did accidentally move the ball when you started talking, so I hope I didn't cut off the end of her presentation. Let me know, Michelle. But you should, if you wanted to get started on your materials, you could go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, I didn't mention earlier when I answered the question, but my name is Miguel Ovies-Bocanegra. I am one of the assistant directors at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities in the undergraduate office. What my emphasis in the office is serving our multicultural students and also providing access for our disenfranchised students, right? But here today, I'm going to go over a couple of information on how to find a lot of the sources that have already been covered online. So just a quick heads up, this over here is already our homepage, but if you visit our webpage frequently, we change our admissions websites, just the front facing of it. The easiest way you can access it is over here on the left-hand side, you'll click Academics and Admissions, and then on the left-hand side, you have kind of links that will just scroll you down automatically that way. And the most common for our first-year students is going to be this link right here, Undergraduate Admissions. On this webpage, this is going to serve as kind of the landing page for this webinar. And one that probably get most acquainted with throughout our time here, but moving forward for our first year and also our transfer students as well. So as John and my colleagues already mentioned, we'll go over a couple of things, including group events, virtual tours, toolkit for students searching a virtual search, admissions website, college-specific information, application checklist, and one that's going to be very important, and I'll go over it later, but it's going to be our ACT and SAT test optional policies. And then if you have direct questions for either one of our counselors that you work with in your high school or any of the ADs, assistant directors, I'll show you that information. But my general advice is when I'm walking through either with students or with counselors is this homepage is going to be your best resource, but specifically this menu button that I'm clicked right now, right? These columns right here, about 6 of them, is really going to help you as your landing page on how to navigate the web page, right? So let's start with the most basic information or more your standard information, and it's going to be here under next steps, and when you click apply. So when you click on that, you're going to find the very standard information: application, the checklist, self-reported academic record, application fee, ACT, SAT scores, not required for admissions, and I'll show a little bit more information down here in the little later. essay, letter of recommendations, and transcripts here. So this is going to be your general web page for the application process. So let's go ahead and go back to where I started. So we'll click on the menu page. First, let's go ahead and start with the group visits, right? Let's say you do want to come visit, you want to bring a group of students all at once, totally doable. So what you'll do is click on this visit page right here. Once you do that, you'll scroll a little bit down, which also you can do your virtual tour here. But if you click just here on the info sessions, on this third link, you do a group visits session. So if you know anybody who's works heavily with Gear Up, Trio, Upward Bound, high school organizations, just click on this web page and then just kind of fill out the form as well in here. Now, one of the things about group visits, we have the flexibility to really tailor it too as well. So if you want to bring in some current students or staff and faculty, we're happy to do that. The only advice I would solicit or would share would be to give us enough time so we can gather specific individuals or subject matter experts. Yeah. So here, tours as well. I know one of the questions was, how do we solicit engagement, or how can we visit campus without being there physically present, right? Even though we are not offering tours for this fall so far, you can still check our campus and go on here, and just by clicking play, right? Similar to what John used earlier. You will have to fill out that information. And another thing, though, that we did create also, if you scroll down here, we also did a walking tour also of our main campus here on the Minneapolis side, and then also in the St. Paul campus walking tour. So if you click on those, you can do that route as well, and then also a self-guided East Bank tour as well. So you have a couple of options there. So back to our menu. Let's talk about the question that was offered earlier about parent information, right? So if we look at our third column here in admissions info, right here is going to be our parent section. If you click on that, some information for our parents, right? Now that we've gone remote, some of this information is going to be dynamic, so we do update it as soon as possible and as soon as we get new information here. So let's go back. Let's go ahead and start with the SAT and ACT, because that's obviously on our radar and it's a big change for us as well. So if you want to click on View COVID-19 Updates in this yellow area here, it will bring you down to this page. So it'll share with you of what the changes that we've had to make in the Office of Admissions due to COVID, but also policy changes that we've made, right? So specifically here, ACT and SAT test scores. Now, we do have a web page as far as a landing page to answer these really standard questions. If you do have in-depth questions, please reach out, send me an email, and I'd love to work with you. But here we have information for freshmen and transfer students. We have a list of frequently asked questions, information for test takers, transfer ACT and SAT score information here, and also a little visual for our transfer students as well. This has been really helpful and resourceful for our counselors at the community college, but also for our future prospective students that are currently in high school. So there's that. Yep. So let's go back to the main admissions page. All right. One of the great things that we have to offer here is specific college information, right? So for the College of Education and Human Development, College of Science and Engineering, we do give specific information sessions. And the way to do that, let me start from the beginning as I did walk you through it. 1 second. So you'll come here, you go to visits here. Once you do that, you just scroll all the way on the bottom and you do freshman information sessions. You'll click on that. And then here are going to be all of our options for the next couple of weeks. So if you have a student that's specifically interested in the Carlson School of Management, our next session is going to be on October 2nd at 2 p.m. So click on the link and they can register there as well. We also do have general virtual visits. So just kind of give you an overview about the university and all the academic offerings. You can pursue that as well. Here. So I'll click out of that. And then we do offer one-on-one appointments, so it's either with an admissions counselor, a transfer admissions counselor, or with a tour guide. We have those opportunities available as well for either counselors or high school or community college students as well. So other resources, find your freshman admissions counselors. So we do have specific admissions counselors that work with specific high schools in the state of Minnesota. Or you can also search by two options, by our college. So if you have a student interested in College of Design, you can go on this webpage, click on that, and then you can work with a counselor. So for example, if you have a student who's interested in being a teacher or working in education and human development, Tolly is going to be our admissions counselor to give specific information for that major and for that college. We also do have another opportunity to be cultural affinity for our students too as well. So if you have a student who wants to speak with an African American counselor, we do have a counselor who kind of get share perspective on that cultural lens. And then also our Asian and Pacific Islander counselor as well, specifically working in the Office of Admissions as well. Some options there for you. So let's go back to the main page of Office of Admissions. We have about 15 minutes left, so I'll wrap up here. So if there's any questions, we can answer those. But the last thing that I do want to share is going to be our forms and publication. So if you, on the home page here, you click on that menu bar. On the right-hand side under the contact column, you click Forms and Publications. And this here in itself is going to serve students all the way through the application admissions process, right? So admissions applications for admitted students, financial aid forms, supplemental applications, MNCAP, admissions appeals forms, the list goes on. So that'll all be here. And then I'll hand it over to Beth.
Thank you.
Stop sharing this. Yep.
Oh, that just messes up all my, it's so weird when you stop sharing, all my different windows start to move around that I had on my screen. Thanks. All right, let me go back. All right, if there are any questions for Miguel, John, or Michelle, any general questions for any of them, could you put those in the chat and we'll take a minute to answer those.
Beth, can you hear me?
Yeah.
One thought I had was there was a question earlier that came up when Kat asked some framing questions, and I don't know if any of us dealt with this directly, so I apologize for that. But one of them was about, are any visits on being held on campus virtual? And just to be explicit on that, and maybe other people said it, but I know I forgot. That many of our colleges are doing in-person visits, so students and families can arrange that. They are individual visits right now, and so there's not as much, volume or room for them, but people can arrange them, and the colleges are really eager to host those and obviously comply with all the COVID cautions that would be expected. But in-person visits are possible. I just checked whether that's Augsburg and Minneapolis or St. Mary's and Winona. I saw several examples of colleges with that option.
Great, thanks, John.
Yeah, same with Minnesota State.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, we are not offering any on-campus tours. As I mentioned earlier, we do have some self-guided tours and then also our digital tours as well.
Great, thank you for answering that. If anyone else has questions, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll get those answered, and the panelists will remain on the call, I think, till the end, just in case. Kat and I have a few announcements before we get back to any questions. Just to remind people that there are other, virtual college exploration events going on. MACAC, we mentioned these in our first webinar, but MACAC has the virtual college exploration going on. Started Monday for a couple weeks. Really awesome sessions for students. They can pop in anytime. Parents are welcome. I think there's also sessions for counselors, so make sure to check that out. Super College Saturday is a online virtual event specifically for underrepresented students, I think first-generation students, and that is also hosted by MACAC. And then we also, at the same time, have the national organization offerings going on, so there's other virtual college fairs on those specific dates coming up. So I think just students have to register for them, and that's just how they get the joining information, but all of these events are free to students and families. And again, the live links are in the slide deck, which you can access, and I will show you where you can get that. Exit out of here. Just as a reminder, I know we've seen a lot of websites today. We've clicked through them very quickly, but you will have access to all the links. So on our Minnesota Goes to College website, here's the homepage. To access recordings and materials from the webinars, there is a webinar page under site support. This is where you can register for them, gives you some brief information. And then under the webinar schedule, these are the sessions that are upcoming or that we've had already. I'm just going to keep them there, and then I will put the slides and the recordings after the presentation. So here's the handout that the presenters were referencing during their talking. And here is the slide deck that I was showing you, so you can access those now. The recording will probably be ready tomorrow. And I'll share that out with people who are not able to attend. Another thing I wanted to show you was under site support. This is where you can access the list for College Knowledge Month for free applications. So this is who never waives a fee ever during the whole school year, and then we have it by month and by week. So that's a really handy tool. You can also send that out to families at this time. College Knowledge Month starts, I don't even know what date it is, Thursday, I think it's October 1st. So I wanted to let you know where those things were. And Kat is so nicely reminding me to show you again where the college planning workbook is, which is a new, I can't get to my links, which is a new resource that we developed for students, especially in this virtual world where we can't pass each other papers and fill out papers. It is under, remember, Initiatives, College Knowledge Month, and then Resources for Students and Families. It'll jump down to the bottom. And this college planning workbook here, it will look like this. You might think you're in the wrong place, but you're making a copy, a brand new copy, so each student, is not going to override the master. And anyway, it's a really great workbook. It's built in Google Sheets, so a lot of schools are using Google products right now. Anyone with the link can use this. And there are tabs at the bottom for each of these topics here. So there's College and Scholarship Search with a bunch of different tabs. If you click on them, it'll just jump right to it, right to the tab at the bottom. So really some awesome tools for planning the application process and applying, researching colleges, places to put all the information that they're gathering as they're, virtually touring campuses and researching costs. There's a page for deadlines, passwords for different sites, comparing college costs, and making your college decision. And This is a kind of a smart workbook in that some of the things that you put on, a previous tab will just automatically transfer to the other tabs, so you're not constantly putting in information multiple times, the same information multiple times. So that, wanted to highlight that. And I believe she is now reminding me about social media toolkit, which is under site support, promotional materials, and the social media toolkit. Let's see, the guide gives you week by week messaging and images that you can use on your student social media accounts that are following along with College Knowledge Month. You can also share our posts as well. Sorry about the extra noise in the background. Let me get back to this. Also, as a reminder, College Knowledge Month, again, starts Thursday. People are still organizing and maybe adjusting their FAFSA and DREAM Act events that they have planned. I do know that the FAFSA update is coming out really soon, and that we still have a lot of financial aid volunteers signing up currently. So if you have an early in October event and you don't have any volunteers that can support you in your virtual event, to keep checking that sign-up sheet if you asked for volunteers. Make sure you're registered to get all of our communications. And then next week for our webinar, we have Derek Francis from Minneapolis Public Schools. He'll be presenting on how to support underrepresented populations in the college admissions process. So that should be a really interesting session. He's a really dynamic speaker and presenter. So that will be next Tuesday at 2:30. And that is on our webinar page as well. And then another reminder that the Office of Higher Ed and CAT's office is hosting public engagement calls, and those are bi-weekly on Wednesday mornings. So tomorrow's session is about increasing FAFSA and DREAM Act completion in Minnesota. Those sessions are really great. You do have to register for each session separately, and I believe there's a email that goes out, but here's the link to get more information and register for the upcoming sessions. Those are also all recorded as well, so you can listen to previous topics. This will not be tomorrow's call will not be a line-by-line FAFSA training. Minnesota Goes to College is going to be doing those at the end of October. So we have one on October 20th about the FAFSA, and then we have a training on October 27th, the following week, about DREAM Act completion. So stay tuned for those. And then again, here's our contact information. And I'm gonna stop presenting to see if there's anything I had missed in the chat. And Kat, feel free to join and let me know if I forgot something.
No, Beth, I think you did a great job. And I do just want to say thank you so much, Miguel and Michelle. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Miguel, Michelle, and John, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us and for sharing all of the great information from your colleges.